The rain poured down like tears from heaven, each drop tapping against the school's windows as if mourning something unseen. Inside, the hallways gleamed under dim lights, freshly mopped by the quiet figure of Mr. Lewis, the school's janitor. He was in his late 60s, his hair a silver crown of years, his hands cracked and rough from decades of labor. Every day, he arrived before dawn and left long after the last child had gone home. Yet, few ever noticed him. The world hurried past, laughing, shouting, never pausing to see the man who silently kept their world clean. That afternoon, as the lunch bell rang and the cafeteria filled with noise, a young boy named Ethan sat alone, his stomach empty and eyes downcast. He had forgotten his lunch again. Mr. Lewis saw him from afar, hesitated for a moment, then reached into his small brown paper bag. Inside was his only meal, a simple sandwich and an apple. Without a word, he placed it gently in front of Ethan. "Sir, you'll stay hungry," Ethan protested, looking up with surprise. Mr. Lewis smiled, his voice soft yet sure. "Kindness never leaves you hungry, son." Ethan's eyes welled up. As he ate, he saw something he hadn't seen before, a man who had nothing yet gave everything. That simple act imprinted itself deep in his heart, a lesson greater than any taught in class. Later that evening, Mr. Lewis returned to his tiny one-room home. The roof leaked, the walls cracked, but his spirit was light. He looked at a faded photograph of his late wife, Mary, and whispered, "You were right, love, giving is never losing." The flickering bulb above him trembled but stayed glowing, dim, yet beautifully alive. Years slipped quietly through the calendar like pages in the wind. Mr. Lewis kept sweeping those same hallways, his back now more bent, his steps slower, yet his eyes still gentle and kind. He never sought praise or recognition, he found his peace in simple service. Every morning, he greeted the teachers and students with the same humble smile, though most hurried past without a glance. But one day, when a teacher tripped in the hallway, dropping a pile of papers, Mr. Lewis instantly knelt down, gathering each sheet with trembling hands. She muttered a quick, "Thank you," embarrassed. He just smiled and said, "We all trip sometimes. Helping is what keeps us standing." Those words lingered longer than either of them knew. But one cold afternoon, while cleaning the gym, Mr. Lewis suddenly staggered and fell. His mop clattered to the floor, echoing through the empty space. By the time help arrived, his pulse was faint, his breath uneven. The school fell silent when they heard, students whispering, teachers pausing mid-lesson. The man who had always been there was suddenly gone. At the hospital, no family came. Only a nurse sat by his bedside, reading the few things he owned. In his small drawer, she found a bundle of old, crumpled letters, thank you notes from students long grown, some with childish handwriting, others faded from years of folding and unfolding. She held them gently, her eyes misting. He remembered everyone, she whispered softly, but no one remembered him. The rain outside began to fall again, steady and slow, like it did on the day Ethan first met him, each drop sounding like a memory, each echo a quiet prayer. The years continued their quiet march, and the school's name changed, its walls repainted, yet the memory of Mr. Lewis lingered like a whisper in the halls. Ethan, now grown, stood tall in his graduation gown, ready to step onto the stage. Cameras flashed, parents cheered, and teachers smiled proudly, but Ethan's eyes searched through the crowd for one familiar face. He hoped, somehow, that Mr. Lewis would be there, sitting quietly at the back as he always had. But the seat remained empty. When Ethan took the podium, his voice trembled, heavy with emotion. "I once knew a man," he began, his words echoing through the hall. "He wasn't my teacher, but he taught me life's greatest lesson, that kindness moves in circles. You give it away, and someday, it finds its way back." The audience grew still, sensing something deeper behind his voice. Ethan's eyes glistened. His name was Mr. Lewis, and I owe him everything. Applause followed, soft at first, then rising into something that felt like gratitude reaching beyond the room. After the ceremony, Ethan drove through the rain to the old hospital, his heart pounding. There, in a quiet room, he found Mr. Lewis asleep beneath thin white sheets, frail but peaceful. The old man stirred, blinking softly as Ethan entered. "You graduated?" he asked in a weak whisper. Ethan smiled through tears. "Because of you." Mr. Lewis' lips curved into the faintest smile. Then my work's done. Ethan shook his head, gripping his hand. No, sir, it's just beginning. Their eyes met, one filled with the glow of youth, the other with the fading light of a lifetime of giving, and in that moment, both knew the circle of kindness had begun its return. Weeks later, Mr. Lewis awoke to sunlight streaming through clean white curtains, the scent of flowers filling the air. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. The small hospital room he had known was gone. Now, he lay in a warm, bright space, paintings on the walls, soft music playing, laughter echoing faintly from the hallway. Ethan stood beside him, smiling gently. "Welcome home," he said. Confused, Mr. Lewis looked around. "Home." Ethan nodded. "You're in a private care home now. Everything's taken care of. You don't have to worry about anything anymore." Tears welled in Mr. Lewis' eyes as he whispered, "But, I have nothing to repay you with." Ethan knelt beside him, holding his frail hands. "You already did, years ago. You gave me your lunch when I had none. You gave me hope when I was invisible. Now, it's my turn." Each day that followed became a gift. Ethan visited every morning, reading aloud letters he had collected, messages from former students whose lives Mr. Lewis had quietly touched. He fixed my locker. He listened when I cried. He called me, champ, when no one else did. Mr. Lewis wept softly. "I never knew they noticed," he murmured. Ethan smiled. "You taught us that no act of love goes unseen, it just takes time to come full circle." On the bedside table sat a framed photo, Ethan in his graduation gown, handing a sandwich to Mr. Lewis, a mirror of that day long ago. They both laughed through tears. Outside, a child was seen helping another tie his shoelaces near the garden. The camera panned slowly, capturing the gentle, unseen ripple of kindness, moving forward, from one heart to another, just as Mr. Lewis had always believed. Months later, the town gathered in the school auditorium, the air alive with quiet anticipation. Children held flowers, teachers whispered fond memories, and a new bronze plaque waited beneath a silk cover at center stage. Ethan stood there, older now, confident yet tender in his voice. "We're here to honor a man who never asked for anything but gave everything," he said softly. The curtain fell away, revealing the plaque. "In honor of Mr. Lewis, who swept floors, hearts, and souls clean." A hush spread across the room. Even the smallest children fell silent, feeling something sacred. Ethan continued, his voice trembling with love. "He didn't change the world in one grand act. He changed it in thousands of small ones, each done quietly, humbly, and with love." In the audience, faces glistened with tears, students, parents, and even teachers who once rushed past him without noticing. A gentle breeze moved through the hall as sunlight poured through the tall windows, wrapping the room in gold. The camera drifted to the corner where an old mop stood, clean, polished, leaning quietly against the wall like a loyal friend. It glimmered faintly in the light, a silent symbol of a life that had mattered. Ethan stepped down from the stage, looking up as the sunlight caught his eyes. In the soft voice of a narrator, the story closed. Kindness never dies. It moves in circles, leaving a part of itself in every heart it touches. Outside, the rain had stopped. A rainbow stretched across the sky, calm, gentle, eternal, just as it had years ago when a poor janitor offered a hungry boy his only lunch. The circle was complete. The world, quietly, was better because Mr. Lewis had lived.